Hello and welcome back to Remnant 2. We are going to be using the Shaed Bloom Crystal today, which gives you a 30% damage bonus that switches between physical and elemental every 5 seconds. Now there's a few ways I can see playing around with it, and I think, not necessarily knowing for sure, I haven't this is just my opinion, right? But I would think that the ideal way to use this, the most efficient way, is to have one weapon completely set up to be elemental damage, have something completely set up for physical damage, and then every 5 seconds, depending on the buff that you have on, you switch weapons so that you're always getting a maximum 30% damage bonus to whatever you're doing. But that's a little intensive, and I'm way too lazy to do that efficiently, so I'm not going to do that. So then there's two more options that I looked at, and the first way would be to just ignore the damage bonus and do whatever you're going to do, right? Like if you've got a bunch of elemental damage, then congratulations, every 5 seconds you're going to be doing a lot more elemental damage, or physical, whatever it is. Basically just say, all right, every now and then I'm going to get a damage boost, and just let it be at that. Simple, no stress, anything like that. But I wanted to make it a little more efficient than just doing that. So what I've opted to do is to do both damage types at more or less the same time all the time. And the way I'm doing that is between the mods on both of my weapons, but one weapon is going to be doing elemental damage with a physical mod, and the other weapon will be doing physical damage with an elemental mod. Did I say that right? So my first one is a Sparkfire Shotgun, because that's just the flavor of the week for me. This week I've just been having a lot of fun with it. It does elemental damage, and then we can change out whatever mod we want in there. So it's got the familiar in there because familiar is a lot of fun, and you can activate it, and then it does physical damage. It lasts for a while. I've got a bunch of stuff stacking up my mod duration, so it keeps going. It just targets guys. I just set it and forget it. And then whenever I've got physical damage bonus going on, it does more damage. Whenever I've got the more elemental damage, the shotgun is just doing more damage. The burning over time is doing more damage. It's just good stuff like that. And then my handgun I'm going to be using is the Rupture Cannon, because I really like the Rupture Cannon. I've got a lot of spread reduction because I'm using the Sparkfire Shotgun, and the Rupture Cannon benefits from that. So that'll be my physical weapon. I put Voltaic Rondure in there because it's an elemental mod, so then we can throw that out there, get benefits whenever we have, the elemental damage buff going on, and then whenever it's off, our Rupture Cannon is doing damage, or more damage. Now, the mutators, I've swapped around with a few. There's 3 main ones that I mess around with, right? The first one that I have on, and it's what I have in the Sparkfire Shotgun right now, and that's the Maelstrom. I've used it before. Increases the weapon's elemental damage by 10% for each unique elemental status effect on the target. If you get a bunch of effects on there, you can end up stacking up a nice 30% damage bonus to your gun. And I mean, just as this one baseline, I mean, once you shoot them once and they're burning, you can get another 10% damage on the follow-ups. But I really like its second effect at level 10, where it increases the mod power generation by elemental damage and status damage. So it's basically like having a Stone of Malevolence in your gun. And I like that because I want to be able to constantly have the Fairy Familiar up as often as possible. So whenever it's, off cooldown and I have to charge it up, being able to charge it quickly is nice so that I can still be getting physical damage out at all times. In the Rupture Cannon, I have Fetid Wounds. This one increases the crit chance by 5% for each unique negative status effect on the enemy. If we actually put 3 on there with the Fire, the Overload, and the Corrosive, and then maybe even Bleed with our melee weapon, it's another 20% crit chance. But then at level 10, the range weak spots and critical hits are going to go Corrosion on there, so it's doing corrosive damage. That will benefit from the elemental damage boost of our Shaed Bloom. Now, the third mutator that I've messed around with is Twisting Wounds. Twisting Wounds, I do really like. It's not particularly good, though, in a way. It increases the melee, or the range damage of the weapon to bleeding enemies, which is nice. 20% is a pretty sizable chunk for the increased range damage, but the bleed effect isn't particularly strong. It does benefit from the increase in physical damage, so you can see its damage go up, but baseline, I mean, you're only getting 10 to 13 damage per second from the thing. It's not very good. But I did notice that with the Band of the Fanatic, it does a lot more, because Band of the Fanatic reduces its duration but increases the stat effect damage. However, I think it's kind of bugged with the Twisting Wounds, because I didn't bother doing the math, but it feels like it going from doing 13 damage a second up to 70 or 90 damage per second is a lot. Not that I dislike that, because that's very fun, and it makes me really like the Twisting Wounds even more. So if you want to run it, put the Bane of the Fanatic in there, and then suddenly you're doing 70 damage a tick with the bleeding, except then when you get the physical damage boost, suddenly you're doing 90 to 100 damage, because it's a 30% damage boost. Now, our melee weapon is the Assassin's Dagger, because it does physical damage when you do a charge attack. That's a bleeding. Bleeding is physical, we'll get the bonus. And then with the Tainted Blade mutator in there, which will apply corrosion, the corrosion will get a bonus from the elemental damage. Now, after that, as far as archetypes and things go, now the natural idea would probably be doing Ritualist because we have some like status effects things going on. We didn't just stick to just raw elemental damage. Throwing in some extra like status effect things is helpful. But I've done a lot of Ritualist lately, so that's not what I'm doing. Instead, I'm doing Hunter just to kind of increase my just range damage, which is nice. And I do enjoy running the Hunter as well. It gives us that extra range and stuff, which is fun. Hunter's Mark is solid as well. And then I've got Alchemist as my secondary archetype because it has a 25% damage that's across the board, plus that extra crit chance. And having the Elixir of Life to just kind of I'm in trouble, pick me up is nice as well. My armor is a combination of the Zealot's armor and the Fey Royal armor. So Zealot's hat with the Zealot's wraps or gloves, and then the Fey Royal body plate, Fey Royal greaves, get me at a 49 weight, and with some 10 points and Fortify puts me at 45% damage reduction, which is, it's okay for Apocalypse, nothing super amazing. I am using the Salvaged Harp just because it's a little bit faster, and I wanted to use that just for something for some like just raw healing that comes out quickly, especially if you have gray health going on. I put some health relic or health runes in there with range damage as well as mod duration because, like I said, I want those mods to last for a while whenever I put them out. Now for my rings, I've swapped these around quite a lot, which basically means you can kind of do whatever you want in a way. So I've got the Stone of Malevolence on there again, you know, kind of double dipping on that, which means I probably don't need Maelstrom, but it will really allow us to get a lot of like recharge value on the Voltaic Rondor. Same thing on the Familiar. Might swap it out as we go and play. Provisional ring, provisional ring, so that when our weapons are stowed, they automatically reload. I kind of like that one because I've been swapping the weapons quite a bit as I sort of try to like stick with whatever damage buff is going on, and then they just reload, and I don't have to worry about actually reloading. Zoe's ring, so we got 15% longer on our mod durations, and then the Stone of Balance just increasing all our damage by 7%. Since we're doing physical, we're doing elemental, we've got mod damage, you know, all those types of things, so I kind of like that. And then for my traits, we got the long shot and potency from our archetypes, and then max points into Fortify for that damage reduction. Max points into Untouchable because I'm kind of relying a little bit more on the evade window right now. Maxed out Vigor. I have maxed out Spirit as well because we want those mods for the extra effects. Siphoner as well. Handling because we were using the shotgun and I want to get down that spread reduction. Resonance. Resonance affects both the Familiar and Voltaic Rondor, so this works out pretty nicely for us. You could, you know, naturally go from there. If you've got points in Resonance, I mean, you could totally just go into Spectral Blade, but at that point, all you need is Spectral Blade at that point, so why would you even use anything else? Fitness. Those were my last 8 points. I just want a little bit extra evade distance. 3 points in Endurance, putting it at 5, and 5 points in Recovery. All that for kind of some stamina quality of life. Now let's go ahead and start clearing out this little chunk here. I've pretty much cleared all of Lossum with this setup with minor variations across the whole thing. Occasionally using the Bane of the Fanatic, sometimes Ring of Red Death, Burden of the Destroyer. I swapped around a couple of the mods, swapping around the mutators all the time, things like that. But we'll do a couple trash, you know, removals, and then we'll fight the Nightweaver. Now I do have on the Tranquility font so that our spread is pretty small, so you can see we have some actual like good shots going on here. And then we just activate the bird now because we can. And then they just kind of burn down while he takes care of guys for us. And then we can always rely on the Hunter's Mark to keep an eye on where the enemies are at. And look at that, 193 on the critical hit for the bird, which is nice. With that extra physical damage. Like, see, he's only doing 99 there, but when it swaps over, he's doing 149 on that crit again. And maybe some extra physical, maybe. And look at that, already charged up. Back out we go. And we just swap it over. We'll throw out a Lightning Rondor. And then we can... Oh, I don't know why I reloaded. And then we can go like there. And you see, like, with the corrosion, it went from 43 to, like, 53. It's not a huge amount. Like, obviously, you're going to see a lot more, like, mileage out of your big numbers and the Shaed Bloom. Because 30% for 10 damage is only going to be like 3 damage. But once you can like really get them up high, you're going to see some pretty big numbers. That's why I was really enjoying the Bane of the Fanatic. But the thing I didn't like about it was with the Sparkfire shotgun, its burn effect only lasted for 1 second. And that's just not nearly enough for me. So I didn't particularly like that part of it. So that's why I ended up taking it back off. But with, like I said, with the Twisting Wounds, it works nicely. I do feel like I was doing more damage yesterday when I was playing this, but hey, maybe I was just delusional because I've been sick, so I don't remember correctly. Yeah, but I mean, you can see, like, general, like, mob removal, not really any issues. You don't even really need to worry about what damage buff is happening when you're getting rid of small guys, because generally speaking, you're going to be doing enough damage regardless, right? It's not until you start dealing with elites and bosses that you really need to think about, like, okay, am I really getting the full damage bonus and stuff? So, like this guy. Now we can, like, get this charged up. We'll actually spit that out. And then we can start doing some just damage, as well as physical, elemental. Spit out another Rondor. Swap over to this. And then, you can get this charged up, and then we're just doing all the damage at all the time. Yeah. Kind of fun. I enjoy it. I like just sitting things out, or sending them out, and then letting them do kind of the work for me. Now, as far as, like, what does elemental damage and what does physical, or, like, if you're ever questioning, like, if something does physical or elemental, I think the general rule of thumb is if it doesn't actually say fire, burning, you know, overloaded or shock damage, or like corrosion or acid, it's going to be physical damage. Explosive counts as physical. A lot of your other like root explosions and stuff, like all those things are going to count as physical. And the majority of your skills, unless they specifically say some kind of elemental damage type, are going to be physical damage types. All right, we're going to try and clear this event. I actually just swapped the Provisioner Ring for the Drain Scavenger Ring, because I kept reloading my guns anyway, so I was like, whatever, I'll pick this one up just on a whim. Gives us some health regeneration and damage whenever we pick an item up for the next 30 seconds. But here we go. Let's get our familiar all charged up. 3 shots ready to go. Reload it away, get this out, and then get some Lightning Orb going. And then ideally, we should have enough like random AoE to just like really mess some guys up, right? And even using our shotgun will charge up our lightning orb, which is pretty solid. Of course, I randomly missed that guy. Good stagger with the shotgun. Let's do another lightning ball. Oh yeah, that's working out pretty nicely for us. It's a lot of it is the Stone of Malevolence, because the Stone of Malevolence is giving us a lot of that regen for our the lightning voltaic Rondor. We just hit him a couple times, let the bird do some work too, spin that out that way. A lot of this passive AoE is just going to be sending us away. Another lightning orb. Yeah. Oh, boom. Uh-oh, gonna have to charge up that familiar again. There he goes. We need to just kind of keep moving. I was a little too early on my, salvaged heart, which was a problem. But we were able to create some distance, give us a moment to heal up. Drop that out. Oop, we need to roll this way, though. Drop another relic. I like how fast this one comes out. That's why I like using it. And bird will do us some work while we run around a little bit. Come on, bird. Thanks. And let's finish this off. Yeah. Worked out well for us. All right, turns out you have to hit record if you want the fight to get recorded. So let's try this again. Going in, we're going to try and save some of our mods, or at least make sure they're actually charged up for whenever she summons spiders. That way we don't have to really deal with them, because it can be pretty unfortunate to get caught by a spider and then end up taking a lot of damage, right? Now I'm trying to get as many status effects kind of stacked on her as I can, like 3 if possible, between the corrosion and overloaded, so that when I switch to Sparkfire, the Sparkfire will actually deal 30% bonus damage, and then, you know, we can just be doing a lot of extra damage. And then charge up our bird very quickly, and the bird will actually hit in an area, so it can actually clear out these spiders for us if it does the job like I want it to. There we go. I also have the blackout ring on. I did have on the scavenger ring, but I got a little, you know, well, I don't know. I was going to say I got tired of it, but scavenger ring just isn't really going to do anything for us here. So, you know, that's why I swapped over to this one, because it kind of helped with some of the reloads. That being said, the provisioner ring would actually be pretty solid here. Oh, I'm in trouble. We're going to drop one of these just in case. And reload now. Oop. Yeah, see. I'm too busy messing with the cough drop in my mouse. It's all soft and squishy now. I was rolled too early. Alright, I would like to proceed into phase 2 now. if I may. And this time, I would like to not get randomly clipped by things. I made it to phase 2 like an attempt and a half ago. And then for some reason, when she dropped onto the ground, she just started spewing projectiles, which is not normal. And they got me. But yeah, here we go. Cool thing with the house, too. This is going to just kind of bounce around and get some awesome value out of it. We could actually get some nice melee hits in here too, because that's something I hadn't really been utilizing at all yet. But with the extra bleed and corrosion, does a lot of extra damage. Except when she goes into the wall, she keeps like clearing all of it. It's pretty annoying. Goodbye, spiders. Where's she at? Oh, there she is. Whoop. Chunk. Oh, that was not the trade I wanted. Ooh, no thank you. Now where's she gonna pop up at? There we go. Slice. Ooh, that's a little... Okay, it didn't actually hit me. That's good. Bird's out now. Oh, you got staggered out of it. Yeah, most of the time when she flies up in the air like that, before she does like her grab or other things, you can interrupt her just by dealing damage. I don't think I'm gonna really make it in time to really do any damage to her while she's doing that. But, you know, we'll go back in here over this direction anyways. I'd like to actually hit her with the flames, please. Oh, I missed. Wah! Also, the feedback loop is pretty nice for this fight as well, because every time she like lunges at you and you dodge it, it'll do that lightning damage, and most of the time it actually staggers her out of it, which is a little bit of a moot point because you're dodging the attack anyways. But it does like prevent some, or provide some interesting opportunities to like deal damage to her. That's pretty much build, dude. Shaed Bloom Crystal. Just add in physical damage, add in elemental damage. Like, this is how I chose to do it. But I would recommend one elemental weapon, one physical damage one. So, like, if you like, I mean, Nebula, I think, is a great choice because of its mod ability. You know, it's an elemental mod that activates, flies around, does damage. The standard fire is just corrosive damage, so that's going to get a boost as well. The Enigma as well as a big elemental gun, and then you can run some kind of physical in your primary. I mean, all the bleed effects that you get from like the Merciless and stuff, like those are going to get big boosts from the extra physical damage and stuff. So I mean, there's lots of choices, and I mean, even as far as archetypes go, like, yeah, the Ritualist is a natural choice given like I'm throwing a bunch of different like status effects in there, but really like the boosts are going to affect anything that you do in here. Like, you know, if you go to Challenger Shockwave, I didn't actually test it, but I'm gonna assume it's physical because like some of the summoner guys, physical damage, the turret stuff. Well, most of the turrets are physical. The flamethrower one is obviously flame. You know, gunslinger thing, that's physical damage. The havoc form, that's gonna be your lightning damage, right? Your dog is gonna get the benefit. So like, you can run kind of whatever archetype you want and get some mileage out of it, or just use it like mine is, where it's like just giving me the overall gunplay, gameplay buffs, and then just rely completely on your weapons to do whatever standard damage. And the fact that I swapped like this ring around like 3 different times for 3 different things should tell you that overall pretty flexible. I think these two are kind of the main extra pieces that I like the most. Like, they've stayed. Zoe's ring, just adding with some of the extra mod duration, so I'm getting like a lot of use out of those mods. The extra damage, Stone of Balance, I was using the Burden of the Destroyer, but I wanted a little bit more range earlier, and so, you know, depending on what you want to do, it's, you know, that's up to you, is what you want to do. And then these two, you know, I Blackout Ring for some of the reload speed, but like I said, at one point I was using the Band of the Fanatic, Red Ring of Death, like a variety of things, right? And as far as like some of the damage boosts go, man, like 30% makes a big difference, right? When you hit this guy in the head, right? 1761, 1238, right? And then we got now 1400. Like, it's a good 200 damage increase, right? And even like if I put on the Burden of the Destroyer, maybe it's making a larger difference than I was giving it credit for, right? So we put that on. Just clear it up a little bit. So this is going to be 1290. So a tiny bit more difference when they have a status effect on them. 1419, 1484. So I mean, it's a good like couple hundred damage difference. So I really like that. And even when you go into the Rupture Cannon, right? 515, 935. Yeah, it's 623. So it's a little bit more damage, but you could even go with like something that's just a solid, harder hitting thing, so you can see even more of a damage boost out of it. So like we do the Widowmaker, 2512. Hold on. Well, now it's 29. Look at that. Like another, it's like a 400 damage increase, right? 1939, 1600. Yeah, like a 200 to 400 damage increase depending on how much damage your weapon is actually doing, right? I mean, it's a 30% damage increase. I don't know. And even this has Tremor in it, right? So if we start stacking it up, 735, and then suddenly we get on the, and then 851, and that rapid fire, man, it makes a difference. Put out the Tremor. Ready, 3, 2, 1. All right, so we're like 315, and then 383. I mean, that's a sizable chunk of extra damage. Now, you could obviously argue with some of these, like, is that better than using Detonation Trigger because Detonation Trigger works on that? No, maybe not. But if you run it with something like, you know, Skewer's not getting anything from Detonation Trigger. So you could just build it up and then get ready to just do a lot of extra damage. Ready? All right, let's see what it does in physical. Yeah, you're looking about 1352 damage. Now it's elemental. Yeah, there's like a 200 damage increase. Yeah, I mean, that tracks, right? That tracks. But yeah, thanks for checking it out. Always appreciate it when you guys do. And hope it gave you some things to kind of think about, try out, or ways to consider using stuff. So, till the next one. Take care.